Remus coming or not? I missed the answer. I'm sorry.
Yes, he was invited. I could double check. We are now streaming.
Because of the nature of this meeting, we may want to wait for Mr. Remus. Any word from Mr. Remus?
No, I resent him a link just to make sure that he has it. Sometimes it's hard to find.
While we're waiting, Mayor, may I make a suggestion? I know that there's a lot of people who are interested in this topic and are planning to speak, and this can feel really detached and impersonal right now because we're all virtual. Maybe just saying a brief, someone thanking people so that I know in the interest of time, we can't maybe comment to every single person's statement, but maybe just generally thanking people.
Sure, absolutely. Feel comfortable starting the meeting without Mr. Remus in attendance? Rory and Mary, Bill, how do you feel about that? Okay. And Mr. Jones, Counselor Jones? You're okay with that too?
I'm comfortable starting and comfortable talking to the public and thanking them for coming tonight.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so are we ready to go, Kathy?
Yep, I have started the recording.
So much. Okay, I'd like to open the call to order a meeting of the Westland City Council for Thursday, May 27th, 2021. We just met an executive session and we are having a public session now to give a statement. Let's call the order, please. I'm Mayor Jules Walters, Councilor Todd Jones.
Present.
Councilor Mary Baumgardner.
Present.
Deputy City Manager John Williams.
Present.
Manager Jerry Gabrielatos.
Present.
Councilor Rory Bielostowski.
Present.
Council President Bill Rellier.
Present.
And City Recorder Kathy Molesky.
Present.
Okay, thank you. First order of business is to go ahead and take public comment. Before we do that, I just want to first of all thank everybody who waited for us while we were in executive session, waited for this meeting to start so you could give public comment. Because of time, we may not be able to reply to each person's comment, but I hope that you know that the entire council here, and I'll let each one speak after public comment, has heard what you had to say. We understand the very deep sentiment that many people were sharing about Oppenlander, and that's why we're here this evening. So thank you very much. So Kathy, can you call forward the first public comment?
Sorry, Tim's having some trouble. I was trying to help him get on.
Oh, okay.
Councilor Jones, did you have something?
Thank you. Mayor, may I speak?
Yes.
Thank you. And I apologize for this, and I may be speaking out of turn, but I must have misread the agenda. I thought that the public would be hearing our statement before they commented, and I thought it would be of value for them to hear the statement so they know what our context is before they share. But if we're not allowed to do that because the agenda was written a certain way, so be it. I just wanted to put that out there, please.
You know what, all I have in front of me is the executive session agenda. I don't have the council meeting agenda, so Kathy, can you guide me in that one?
Yeah, we had the executive session agenda because we didn't know if we were going to be coming out to regular meeting. And so now we're coming out to regular meeting. So it's your agenda, whatever you would like.
Well, I sort of feel like I would like to hear the public feedback first and then go ahead and deliver our statement. How does everybody else feel about that? Sounds like, it looks like we would prefer me to give the statement first. Thumbs up if that's how you feel. Okay, I'll go ahead and do that. Thank you guys very much. So I'm sorry. So for our public commenters, if you could just wait one more minute, we're going to deliver our statement so you have the context in which we're meeting here today. So this is the City Council statement on Oppenlander Fields property, dated May 27th, 2020. Oh, yes, Councilor Relier.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Walter. So before the statement is read into the record for the public, I think we need to take a vote on this in a public setting so that the public can hear that we as a council have moved to release the information from the executive session.
You are correct. And so do you have a motion for us?
Yes, Mayor and members of council, I move to approve the release of information from the council's executive session regarding negotiations with the Westland Wilsonville School District and the City of Westland for the purchase of Oppenlander Field.
Moved. Is there a second? Can you give me a verbal second?
I second, Mayor.
Moved and seconded to approve to release this information from our executive session regarding real estate transactions with Westland Wilsonville School District and the City of Westland about Oppenlander Field or Oppenlander. So Kathy, can you call the roll, please? Is there any discussion first? Does anybody have discussion? I'm not anticipating that. Rory, yes?
Just a quick point. The motion in the packet that we received had a part that authorized counselors and staff to speak to the issues related to this. I don't know if it's important that we include that in our motion, but I wanted to be sure that we're able to speak and maybe specify what information we're releasing. Don't know if that's important. But I thought the motion that Councilor Borrelia made differed a little bit from the motion proposed in our agenda packet. I didn't know if that's important.
Mr. Ramus, should we redo that, redo our motion or amend our motion to match that?
Yes, our recommendation from staff and legal counsel is to include all the language in the proposed motion. So you could either withdraw the motion and restate it or move to amend.
I think perhaps we will withdraw that motion and read the motion from the packet. Do you have that, Council President?
Mayor Walters, I'll move to rescind my motion. And if somebody else has that pre-canned motion handy, they can certainly read it into the record.
I can read it.
Thank you, Rory. I thought, Councilor.
Okay, in 1 second, pulling. In light of the public importance of this matter, I move to authorize the statement regarding the Oppenlander property prepared by staff, including any factual details otherwise protected by executive session law. This motion also authorizes counselors and city staff to speak to this issue, including factual details otherwise protected by executive session law.
I second.
Seconded. Do we have any discussion? I'm not seeing any. I don't think. So, Kathy, can you call the roll, please?
Counselor Baumgartner,
Yes.
Counselor Bielostowski,
Yes.
Counselor Jones,
Yes.
Council President Relier,
Yes.
Mayor Walters.
Yes. Okay, and then with council direction, I will go ahead now and read the statement that we have prepared. So this is the City Council statement on Oppenlander Fields property dated May 27th, 2021. Over the past 40 years, the Westland community has enjoyed use of the 10-acre Oppenlander Fields property on Rosemont Road. The Westland Wilsonville School Board has recently decided to sell this property. The school board approached the Westland City Council and offered to sell the city the property at the appraised value of $6.5 million. The City Council discussed this in confidential executive session, as it does all real estate matters. The offered price far exceeded funds readily available to the city in the budget for a land purchase. Given the price tag, the City Council requested the opportunity to have an open community discussion of this property with enough time allowed to explore possible uses and potentially hold a citywide vote in November of 2021 on a general obligation bond measure to determine whether the citizens of Westland wanted to raise taxes so the city could purchase the property. To that end, city staff drafted an option agreement that would have allowed the city to have until the end of this year to determine whether city purchase of Oppenlander Fields was desired by the community. That option agreement was provided confidentially to the school district staff and the school board. Initially, the district was receptive to the council's proposed option agreement, but shortly thereafter, the school board concluded that this timeline did not meet the district's needs and informed the council that they would be moving to sell the property on the open market. The city council understands the importance of this property to community members, neighbors, and youth sports organizations. The council maintains interest in its proposed option agreement if the district is willing to delay sale. Okay, thank you. And so now we will turn to public comment. And can you call the first person forward? If you could state your name and a city of residence, please.
CJ Cole.
Hello, my name is CJ Cole, a resident of Westland, City of Westland, and speaking on behalf of myself and not the Hidden Springs Neighborhood Association, of which I'm the president. Thank you, Mayor Walters, Council President Relier, Councilor Jones, Councilor Baumgartner, Councilor Bielostowski, for your willingness to open this up to a public comment and public forum. It is much appreciated. As a resident of Westland for 29 of the past 32 years, I have used Oppenlander Field as a youth athlete, as a high school athlete, and as a coach. It is imperative to me that the city continues to push the school district in regards to allowing the city the time it's needed to purchase this field on behalf of the voters of Westland. I am disappointed that the school district is not willing to allow the city of Westland to put forth the general obligation bond to the citizens of Westland for this purchase. I recognize the need for the school district to raise revenue and funds in order to satisfy the needs of its citizens and the students of which it supplies an education to. I would ask that the district and the city of Westland pushes the district in order to utilize funds in reserves in order to offset the 6.5 million that it's looking for in terms of the revenue from this property. I approve of the council's proposition to put this before the voters in the November 2021 election, and believe that it's up to the voters to decide this matter, particularly as it applies to so many people over the last 40 years. Thank you so much for your time and your effort in this. It's much appreciated, and I recognize the decision from all decision makers, both in the city and the school board and the school district, is important. Thank you again for your time and for all you do for the city of Westland, and way to go with the post office.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. Todd, are you waving goodbye, or did you want to say something? Okay. Kathy, could you call the next person forward?
Abby Farber.
Hello again, everyone. It seems like I just saw all of you yesterday on the budget committee, and hello, Attorney Ramus as well. You weren't around for those, but thank you for this opportunity to speak. And Mayor Walters, thank you so much for clarifying that the city was in negotiation and really asked the board to do this. It, I think, gives a whole new light to the matter of, clarity. By the way, I'm Abby Farber, resident of West Linn, also president of the RSNA, but only representing myself. Boy, have I been bombarded with emails from people within the NA. We're planning a meeting coming up to talk about this. Again, I'm so glad you disclosed this, because our meeting can, obviously report on what's going on. At this point, I do know, having served on the budget committee, that there's no reserves hanging around to pay for this. I see Jerry grinning. If Lauren were sitting here, she'd be nodding her head too. We're just not sitting on $6 million of reserve cash to be able to buy this. And I appreciate and approve of the idea of let's bring this to the voters in a GO bond. And I have a feeling there'd be a lot of support for that. So I don't know what pressure we can bring to bear on the school board, aside from just wondering if this decision they made was publicly noticed, was done in public, perhaps somebody pointing out to them that maybe they didn't do this under their own rules. I don't know their rules, but I just hope we can get them to slow down, put a stop to this, and see if we can get the GO bond money to possibly, again, if it's deemed worthwhile, to purchase this property, which so many people value. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abby. Okay, next person, Kathy, please.
Nicole.
Can everybody hear me okay? Looks like it. Thank you. My name is Jenny Cole, and I'm a resident of Westland. I first just want to take a moment and thank all of you, council, mayor, and city staff for your efforts in the ice storm cleanup. I personally organized a work party for my HOA, and we were able to move quite a lot of the wood chips from Sunburst Park to beautify our community spaces. So we really appreciated that savings in money, as well as bringing our community together. I also want to thank all of you as well for your work with our federal delegation and bringing back the USPS to Westland. A lot of my neighbors are thrilled to hear that, and we celebrate that news. And I look forward to finding out more about how we're going to work with businesses in relocating them for the post office. But the main reason we're all here this evening, and thank you again for the opportunity to speak, is on the topic of the proposed sale of Untitled Field by the Westland Wilsonville School Board. I was so pleased just the other day as I was driving down Rosemont Road to see the fields open again after they have been closed during the pandemic, and to see Westland youth playing baseball on those fields. Like my spouse who spoke earlier, I grew up here, and Oppenlander provided an equitable and accessible space for my friends and I across diverse backgrounds to play baseball and softball. My younger brother played. My dad was a youth baseball coach for many years, helping to build the character of dozens of Westland youth. And I cannot express how invaluable Oppenlander has been, not only in my family, but for many families, and continues to be so today. I ask you to use the same leadership that you demonstrated in the annexation of the Captain Street plot after the community united together to address the unnecessary construction of the C800 communications tower. And thank you for the update this evening, demonstrating that same leadership. One piece of information that I hope all of you know, but I would like to share publicly, it is publicly available. We have precedent for the preservation of Oppenlander Field in its current state. In 2009, the Westland Wilsonville Sunset Primary School Sitting Committee, as part of the Westland Wilsonville School Board, published a report to the superintendent, which was evaluating whether or not to relocate Sunset Primary School to Oppenlander Field or to keep it in its same approximate location, which, as we know, since the new Sunset Primary School now exists in the same location, it was decided upon that they should not instead relocate to Oppenlander Field. And in that report, they wrote, "Beyond its value in community sports, Oppenlander is an important playfield annex for all Westland schools." I'm happy to share that report with the council. Please do let me know if you would like it. I'm happy in the end to hear that our city is considering pushing forward this to a general bond to our residents, which I think is absolutely necessary. And we've already seen such support in just a couple of days that I can only imagine the rest of our city residents will join in support in this in November. I encourage you to use the precedent set by the Westland Wilsonville School Board themselves in considering negotiations with them to preserve Oppenlander for generations to come. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mrs. Cole. Kathy, can you bring forward the next person?
Dean, sir.
Yes, good evening, Dean Sir, Miles Drive, West Linn. I've lived backed up to Oppenlander Field. My family and I have lived here for 26 years, about 27 years in the city. So you can imagine what my personal opinion is, but I'm actually speaking on behalf of what is now 1,261 people that in what seems like a month, it's only been 24 hours, have weighed in on the Oppenlander situation. We're so pleased that you are able to bring this out of executive session and share with us, because working in the dark is very challenging. And we really appreciate that we're able to have this conversation. It helps us to focus and helps us to know where and how we can all help each other to make progress on this issue. So Oppenlander Field is public property. It's owned by the school district. That money, albeit only a small share of that $6.5 million, came out of taxpayers' pockets back in the 70s. And clearly any money that the school district gets for Oppenlander will go into the taxpayers' pockets. But guess what? If we're the taxpayers and we want that property, we can help you through this bond measure to make that happen. We appreciate the need for the school district to manage their properties and to be proactive as the whole area continues to expand. And they certainly cover an area that's much bigger than the city of West Linn. They're responsible all the way on down into Wilsonville. So we understand the challenges they have, but we do look forward to working together with you and with the citizens to move this forward to a bond measure, and acknowledge at the same time that, at least if I understand your statement clearly, the school district has not agreed to that. So we will continue this effort in very short and aggressive pace to try to get them to slow down. There is no, and sorry, I'm speaking to the school board now, because I imagine some are listening to this or will. There is no need to panic about a week or two or a month when you've owned a piece of property for 40 years. We just do not accept that argument at all. So we will take that up with them, but we thank you all for your energy. And now that, again, that we know where you stand, we'll be hoping to partner with you as we go forward.
Emily Hogan.
So much, Mr. Sir.
Actually, Emily Hogan's my mom. I'm Riley Hogan. I'm a resident of Westland. I'm 10 years old and in 4th grade at Trillium Creek Primary School. Mayor Walters and City Council members, thank you for letting me speak tonight. Mayor Walters, I'm not sure if you remember me, but I brought Girl Scout cookies to you earlier this year.
I do, and I already ate all of them. They were so good. Thank you, Riley.
I hope the city of Westland can buy Oppenlander Field because lots of people use it. I watch my friends' baseball games and I play soccer, watch my sister play t-ball. And it's not just me. Others run, walk their dogs, and do yoga. At night, we can even hear owls talk to each other. And there are blue herons and bald eagles that circle too. Please do something to keep this field from being turned into a street with a bunch of homes. Don't let the developers destroy it, and please protect this special area. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Riley, very much. That was an excellent comment. We really appreciate it. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Kathy.
I was gonna say that is all.
Okay, thank you so much. So what I'm going to do now is give each counselor a minute to respond to that public comment, a minute or two, and then have John Williams walk through for us what the timing would look like on a bond if that were something that would be pursued. But first, let's go ahead and let each counselor speak if they would like to, starting with Council President Bill Relier.
Well, thank you. And thank you, members of the public, for your comments this evening. And we certainly join you in your wishes that the school district reevaluate its position and open the door to a discussion with us that allows the public the opportunity to purchase this property through a bond measure if that be their desire. I do have a couple of questions for city staff regarding this particular piece of property. Mayor, would you like for me to reserve those until after the other council members have had an opportunity to speak?
Yes, let's do that if you don't mind.
Right.
Let everyone speak first. Okay, thank you. Next, Councilor Baumgartner.
Thank you, Mayor. And I wholeheartedly agree with everyone's connection to this special property. My children also played lots of youth sports there, and it's an important and special location, and I hope we can work together and represent what the public wishes to happen there. And I really appreciate the people who have come to the meeting and who are listening, because civic engagement is very important, and we are made better for all the people who are here on this call and who are participating. Thank you so much.
Councilor Bielostowski.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to everybody for commenting. These past few days were difficult in that on this topic because it felt like we were muzzled in what we could say because of the executive session law, and I'm very glad to be able to speak now and be able to talk with community members freely so that they know where everything stands. To me, through this whole process, I've just always wanted to give the public the opportunity. Oppenland is public property, and I wanted to give them the opportunity to vote because I think it's the most democratic thing to do. And if the majority want to keep Oppenlander as a park, then I think they should be allowed to have that opportunity to vote and purchase it if that's what our citizens want. And I feel as a representative of the citizens, that's the position I should take. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to move forward and go with the bond measure in the future if the school district is willing to reconsider their position on the option agreement that we proposed, which I thought was enough, because we can't just pull $6 million out of thin air and purchase the property because we don't have that money. So the only way to do it really is with the vote, and I think that's the most fair way to do it so that everybody can have a say if they want to. So hopefully in the future we'll be able to go that route. And thank you for the opportunity to comment. And thanks for everybody who's very interested in this. I think 1,200 signatures on a petition and in a very short period of time, 24 hours, just shows the deep community involvement in Oppenlander. And I happened to play there when I was a kid playing youth baseball 10, 15 years ago. So thanks.
And Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to everyone that's on the call tonight. I know it's been said, but I want to repeat it. Our apologies for keeping you waiting for an hour while we made sure we had our statement accurate. We appreciate your patience and appreciate you being here. It is my honor to teach at Westland High School, and interestingly enough, I discussed with my students this morning a quote that probably a lot of you know from Margaret Mead. And Margaret said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." And I am moved by 1,200 people signing on to something in 24 hours and a couple hundred people being on this call tonight. And I appreciate Oppenlander Park. I've been torturing Rosemont Ridge Middle School cross country and track athletes on that field for 20 plus years. And I want to communicate to all of you and to the district that if they're amenable to slowing down their sale process and working with us, then we're pleased to work with you on giving you, the citizens of Westland, a choice on this property. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Relier, you had some more statements that you wanted to make or questions you wanted to ask.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So my question on this particular parcel of land is very similar to the question that I raised regarding the C800 tower. What is that property currently zoned at? And does the city have an opportunity to annex that property if it's not currently within the city limits, since it is surrounded, well, it's considered an island property. It is surrounded by property that is within the city of Westland.
Councilor Relier, thank you for that question. The property is annexed to the city already. It's zoned R10. And it is served with utilities. We've recently improved the street frontage on Rosemont. So it's a pretty unique property at 10 acres within the city of Westland.
All right, thank you for that. And then if you're willing to entertain a motion, Mayor Walters, I would like to make one at this point.
Yes.
Right, thank you. So I move to direct city staff to place a bond measure on the ballot for the purchase of Oppenlander Field in an expedient manner and in time to meet the next available ballot cycle or election cycle. I'm not exactly sure what the date is, and if I need to be specific with that, please let me know, Mr. Ramus.
I think the motion is adequate to authorize the staff to move ahead. Then it leaves some room for the staff to determine a schedule, so I think it's appropriate.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the table.
I will second that.
Been moved and seconded to, the motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Councillor Biastowski.
Thank you, Mayor. I feel a little bit uncomfortable at this juncture quickly moving to vote towards a bond measure myself, only because I feel like if we go that route and ask for $6 million and we get that money, there's no guarantee that the property will be there for our use. There's no guarantee it will be sold to us. It could be developed even if we don't want it to be developed. So I would feel most comfortable allowing our statement to stand, engaging with the school district and seeing what they want to do. if they're amenable to our proposals and going from there and referring a bond in the future, because I don't want to jump the gun myself. That's how I view it. And I know others disagree, but I just wanted to share my thoughts. So thank you.
Any other comments, questions, or comments? Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. I concur with Rory. I appreciate Council President Relier's suggestion, but this is moving a bit fast for me in terms of giving our staff time to kind of get up to speed on what we might do and the implications of it before they invest a whole bunch of time and effort and money into potentially putting together a ballot measure. I'd like to give the district an opportunity to respond to some of the public sentiment, since a whole lot has happened in the past 24 hours. I do want to add, though, for the benefit of the listening tonight, that time is of the essence, because my recollection from what staff has communicated with us, that we need quite a bit of time to put together a bond measure. It's not just something we can say in September, hey, let's put something on the ballot in 2 months. But we can certainly at the appropriate time have staff help us know exactly what the timing would be. But this just feels a bit quick to me, Mayor and Council. Thank you.
Yes, I would concur with that. And I don't know if it's an appropriate time, since we're in the middle of this vote, to ask for information from Deputy City Manager John Williams about timelines, or should we wait till after we take this vote? I guess that's a question for Tim.
I'm sorry, was there a question there that?
I think there was.
I couldn't hear it, I apologize.
Oh, okay. The question was, I had some questions, needed more information from John Williams, but I don't know if you have to finish voting on this motion first.
Yes, if there's a second, it's appropriate to vote. However, to the extent that council members want information to inform their vote, it's perfectly appropriate to ask for that now before the vote.
I don't know if I actually need it for my vote. So unless anyone else has questions for staff, why don't we go ahead and call the roll? Councilor Bielostowski.
I'm happy to let Councilor Relier go. He's had his hand up for longer than me, but I'd like to ask
Oh, I
questions
apologize.
staff first too.
Council President, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Walters. So I'd just like to clarify that my motion is not just regarding the school district and having revenue available to purchase property from the school. But if the school district were to not renew its discussion with us and want to give us the option of purchasing that property, then we would still have funding available to potentially negotiate with whoever the new owner is. So the amount that we'd be asking for in the bond measure would need to be able to, I believe, cover both of those aspects. And I believe the sooner that we start moving forward on that bond, the better position we'll be in to negotiate a purchase of that property, if that in fact is what the community wants us to do. And the longer we delay, the less likely we are to secure that property.
Councilor Bielostowski.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. I was just going to ask John whether he thinks that if we put this on an agenda in June, like early June, like at our council meeting in June or our first meeting in June, could we revisit this topic of a bond after we give some time to the district to respond? Because it's possible they'll, not guaranteed, but possible that they'll accept the option agreement. Possible we'll know by then if they're going to go that route, and then I'll be more fully informed to be able to negotiate and vote on this topic.
I'm happy to address bond timeline and challenges if that's, Tim, that's what I'm doing now. Yeah, okay. So the challenge with bonds is that you have to submit your measures to Clackamas County early. I believe the exact date on this one for the November ballot would be August 13th. So that means you, as a council, have to do everything to prepare the measure for the county, basically in late July, so that it is time to get reviewed by legal and all finalized. So we had always sketched out a late July final decision by council on this. The real challenge right now, in addition to the entire community conversation that you're all thinking about, I'm sure, is that we would need our bond counsel and financial advisors to do a significant amount of work to get us ready to be able to have this measure. Back when we were working on this originally, after being approached by the school district, that was one of our main challenges. And I reported to you that we would have to have engaged the financial advisors then to be able to have all the financial information for you to make the decision in July. So I think if November election is the timeline, that's very, very challenging at this point. If a later election is the timeline, it's much more manageable. Without talking to Lauren, and perhaps Jerry has some little additional information, I can't get you a better answer than that, other than that it's pretty challenging.
I spoke briefly with Lauren today about this, and she added that we would have to reach out to bond counsel about the exact amount that we would issue the bond for, because it seems like that is something that we'd still be working through. There might be additional costs in addition to the appraised value that we would have to identify.
Okay, any other comments? Discussion. Councilor Baumgartner.
Thank you. I just wanted to share that I had seconded the motion because one of the main emphasis that I took away from all of our discussions has been the time frame, as just laid out by John. Thank you for reiterating that. And that was it.
If we were to give direction at our first June meeting, perhaps it's a work session, I know maybe we could add a special meeting to that. Would that seriously hamper our efforts? If we delay it by a week, 2 weeks, a week.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. Would it seriously delay?
All right, would it seriously delay our efforts? I mean, would it seriously hamper our efforts if we delayed for a week and then have this discussion after we hopefully hear back from our partners at the school district and the school board, and discuss this and give direction at our first meeting in June, which is on the 7th. It's a work session, but perhaps we could add a special meeting to it.
It's difficult for me to answer that question. I'm sorry.
I can take a little bit of a stab at it. If a November election is the timeline desired, every day counts now. If it appeared that the council was moving in this direction, we would start working on it now. I would start working on it tomorrow with Lauren and Jerry and Tim. Just to be prepared, even though that might be inefficient if you made a different decision. But I'm not even certain it's possible to accomplish, but we would need to start working on it.
Okay. Saying that, I open the floor back up to Councilor Jones and Councilor Bielostowski to see if they have anything else, any questions before we vote. Councilor Bielostowski.
No questions. I'm just like going through a lot of thoughts in my head and thinking about this and thinking about the pressure like of how we're having to operate under this timeline and hoping that to the extent that we're not able to get on the November ballot, if we're not, because of all these constraints that are put on our staff, that there would be willingness to extend the delay to allow this public process. The only reason I'm hesitant right now to direct staff to prepare a bond is because I feel like it's a bond to nowhere. I mean, I don't know, you get $6 million and it's not within the school district property. A developer is set to spend 6 million or 7 million on it, but then make millions of dollars in profit on the houses. So there's no guarantee that they would be willing to pass up on their profit for the benefit of the community, knowing how corporations and companies work. Those are just my raw thoughts coming out of my brain at this moment. But so I just was sharing that for the public and for you all to know where I'm coming from. So thank you.
Mayor, if I may. Oh, I couldn't hear you. Are you?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
I'm just too far from my computer.
Oh, I was just going to ask if we were to vote to approve or vote on this motion, and then we find out in a couple of weeks, let's just say for argument's sake, that we don't want to move forward on it because for some reason I can't foresee right now. I mean, what is the harm? I mean, what are the ramifications of that? Could someone tell me?
It would be an investment of staff time that may not pay off. John, anything else to add?
I think that's mostly it. We wouldn't be spending a lot of money to do this work. It'd be a lot of staff time. There's a little bit of money. The bond counsel and financial advisors are external and contract.
Thank you.
Councilor Jones, do you have any thoughts?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I'm just so torn because we have no idea how the district will respond. And if they do respond, how immediately they'll respond. I'm just concerned about our staff expending a lot of time and effort and energy into pursuing a bond when we have no idea if the district is even, I'm sorry, if the school district is even amenable to that or not.
So perhaps everybody loves it when I suggest this, but one option would be to schedule another meeting next week, which is our week off for the month. Well, sort of, it's because of Memorial Day, we don't have a Monday meeting. It's also our fourth or fifth Monday. So we could try and schedule something. Council President Relier.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Williams, the last time we approached the school board with the option, how long did it take for them to respond?
I believe the board was having a number of executive sessions on a number of topics, and so they were able to get answers back fairly quickly. I don't know when their next scheduled executive session is. It's possible we could look at their calendar and see.
Yeah, but in my recollection, did it have to come directly from the board, or was this a decision that somebody else at the school district made?
The board was, well, my understanding is the board was making that you were, as a council, were negotiating with the board directly.
Okay.
I shouldn't say directly. You were giving your staff direction. We were speaking to their staff. They were speaking to their board.
I see. And so if we were to move forward and give direction to staff right now, we could potentially be talking about investing 2 to 3 weeks of staff time in something that the school district then declines to provide an option on. And at that point, we would have to make a decision. Are we going to allow the property to change hands and then try to negotiate with that new property owner? And I'm not that familiar with bond measures to know at that point if we would need to raise the stakes, so to speak. So as we enter those negotiations with bond counsel, we set a certain value on the bond. Is that a negotiable point?
I believe it is. We would want to give them a ceiling, I believe, to work on that could then be reduced if need be, better than going from low to high. Because they'd be looking at our finances and our ability to handle those numbers.
That's what Lauren had mentioned earlier. And
Oh, good.
The school, the school board meets again on the 7th of June. I just looked at their calendar.
Thank you.
Jones, sorry, Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Williams, did I hear you correctly that time is of the essence, and if we have any hope of potentially having a bond measure in November, and you've already mentioned that it's already challenging as of today, are you suggesting that we would need to start immediately? I'm just so wary of wasting staff time, but if you're really saying if you have any hope of that, you need to start now, then I guess
that would be my recommendation, is that we would need to start now. That does not mean that you need to make a final decision on this. That means that Jerry and Lauren and I and Tim would, and others, Kathy, many others, would start working on this tomorrow.
Okay, so do we want to go ahead and do this vote? Do we want to just perhaps give direction to look into the process and get feedback? Councilor Relier.
Yeah, Mayor Walsh, I just want to reiterate that the motion on the floor is just to give direction to staff to put together a bond measure that could be placed on the ballot. It's not a movement by council to place a bond measure on the ballot.
Okay. So should we call the roll then? Any more comments, or should we call the roll? Not seeing any hands. So Kathy, can you call the roll, please?
Councilor Bielostowski,
Yes.
Councilor Jones,
yes.
Council President Relier,
Yes.
Councilor Baumgartner,
Yes.
Mayor Walters.
Yes. Okay, thank you. The motion passes. Is there any more, anything else on the agenda that you want to discuss tonight, or anything else that you want to discuss before we close out for the evening? Okay, I just want to thank the public very much for sharing your thoughts with us. You know, as everyone else shared, I too, my kids played baseball, softball, and soccer at Oppenlander, and you know, I enjoy it as well. And I hope that we can continue our great partnership with Westland Wilsonville and come to some sort of arrangement that works for everybody. And thank you, councilors, for meeting us tonight on such short notice to discuss